Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Ultimate victory over CNN. Well, it was the big day that President Donald Trump met President Vladimir Putin, and I was monitoring liberal media very strictly all day long because I wanted to look for a talking point. Now, you'll see the headline in this story from The Guardian: Trump to meet Putin for first time after accusing Russia of testing West's will. Now, here's the talking point that I have been trying to look for in liberal media and really in all media, and that is Trump meets Putin for the first time. Now, I assumed that this is how the mainstream media was going to report it, but they always added a caveat. They always added, since saying Russia is testing the West's will, since Trump said Russia hacked the election, since this, or first time in G20. Nobody wanted to commit to the statement that this was the first time that Donald Trump met Vladimir Putin ever, because they've been reporting that Trump and Russia and Trump and Putin have been colluding for the last 2 years. And I guess you would have to assume that they've been colluding longer than 2 years with all the accusations that are being thrown out there with what they're colluding on. But nobody wanted to report it that way. It was amazing to me. So, of course, they wouldn't report it that way. We can't say that this is the first time that President Trump ever met Vladimir Putin, because we've been telling you that they've been colluding for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, who knows how long. So I found that interesting, but the meeting did take place today. Everyone's talking about this meeting. They had constant updates. The Associated Press has an updated board. They were literally updating you every 5 minutes on what's going on. The latest, Senator tells Trump to uphold Russian sanctions. But from everything we can tell, Vladimir Putin and President Trump got along. And then the biggest news, if you want to discuss President Trump meeting President Putin, has to be U.S. and Russia reaching deal on Syrian ceasefire. This is the big news. U.S. officials say the United States and Russia have reached an agreement for a ceasefire in southwest Syria. The ceasefire is set to take effect July 9 at noon, Damascus time. Now, this is an interesting thing to keep an eye on, folks. You know that they were planning another chemical attack. They've been building it up. Nikki Haley said, as soon as something happens in Syria, we're going to blame Assad. So now there's been a ceasefire declared between Russia and the United States. Is this going to be a good thing, a bad thing? How is that going to be twisted if they try to pull another chemical attack that they've been building with McCain's rebels that could be ISIS fighters in the Syrian region? But the big news is you have to like the fact that President Trump and President Putin came together today, agreed on a ceasefire, and everybody's talking about the body language, positive body language, shaking hands, pointing, smiling, having a laugh. So, and even the people that I was talking to were talking about the body language. Looks like Putin really likes Trump. Looks like Trump really likes Putin. Looks like they really hit it off, really got along. So that is good news. We want a strong relationship with Russia. And I think that that's another reason why there's been so much levied against Russia as far as claims that they've hacked election or hacked this or done that, because they don't want the United States to have a strong relationship with Russia. And it appears that that is going to be the case if the trend continues of President Trump and President Putin getting along. So far, that's what we've seen in day one. Now, here's a quick picture of the leaders that met today. And I want to show you this picture because you might notice something about this image that doesn't seem right. Now, you'll see how there's a little gap in the top right. You see, they had it all lined up to be balanced, and there's that little gap in the top right. That's because the little manlet, Emmanuel Macron, slithered down into the front row, and he actually tried to bully his way into the front row to Trump's left, to bully his way in front of the guy, I can't tell who that is, in the blue suit. And Trump and the guy in the blue suit were like, what are you doing here, you little manlet? Get out of here. And he kind of got shimmied off to the side. And so now he's standing awkwardly on the side where he doesn't belong instead of up in the corner where he did belong to make the picture balanced. That's the little manlet Macron who says he's going to rule. He's going to rule like the god Jupiter, and he's going to make vaccinations forced. He's going to force you to take vaccinations. And so the little manlet Macron thought the whole thing was about him and had to get next to Trump. Sorry, Macron, you're not comparable to Trump. You are a nothing. In fact, you probably wanted to get down to the front row because you're so short that you were worried you wouldn't be in the picture, but that is none of my business. Now, one of the first things Trump tweeted after going to the G20, everyone here is talking about why John Podesta refused to give the DNC server to the FBI and the CIA. Disgraceful. Well, this is incredible if you think about it, because if this is true, what are they talking about? Why would they be talking about Podesta? Why would Podesta be a talking point? Oh, maybe everybody read the emails. Maybe people looked at what Podesta's emails had in them. Maybe people are looking at the Democratic Party, people like Caleb Schwartz, who got arrested for having child pornography on the computer, Anthony Weiner texting minors, sexting minors. Maybe that's why they're wondering, whoa, what did Podesta have on those email servers? What was in Podesta's email? Why won't he cooperate? Why isn't he turning this over to DHS? People are talking about it. Could be a story there. Now, this is wild. This actually just broke. Now, okay, I won't even cover this. John Podesta gets on Twitter and he responds. Basically, Podesta's come totally unhinged. He's on a cross-country road trip with his wife, and he's so triggered by Trump's tweet that he decides to respond 7 different times. You can go down and look at all these tweets he has. He's basically come completely unhinged. And then this just breaks right before we go on air. John Podesta calls into MSNBC to respond to Trump tweets. He's unhinged. Now, these are some of the things that Podesta said. Russians hacked my email to help win for Trump. Okay, so you're again admitting that the contents of the email are real. Wow, shocking what's in your email, John. Podesta also said he's parroting the 17 intel agencies. He calls in, this is seriously, folks, I can't even believe this happened. He calls into the show and he's saying this. He's parroting 17 intel agencies, say it was Russia. That's fake news. That's already been confirmed fake news. Then Chris Matthews, the host of the show, goes on to say, and Putin's the only one who knows if the Russian dossier is real or not. Another thing that's completely debunked as fake news. Then Podesta says that Trump is unhinged as those two characters are talking about fake news. Podesta goes on. He's upset that Trump isn't harder on Russia, considering they're now meddling in the French election. They're meddling in the German election. They're a threat to a democracy. Meanwhile, the DNC is being sued. Okay. We've got a voter integrity campaign started by President Trump that a lot of states aren't cooperating with. We'll get to that in a second. And then Matthews goes on and calls John Podesta his buddy and says, can't believe we lost to that guy. Well, what does that say about you, Chris Matthews and John Podesta? You're total losers. That's what that says. Unbelievable that he would call in to a show like that. Let's get to this story. Trump to meet Putin for first time, or I'm sorry, here we go. This is from CNN. 44 states and D.C. have refused to give voter information to Trump Commission. Guys, I don't know if we'll make that clip that I had planned. We might just pitch it to the Bound Report because I want to get to this. First of all, this headline is misleading. The reason why a lot of these states aren't turning over the information to the commission is not because they're refusing to cooperate with Trump. It's because certain information they're not allowed to turn over by law. And a lot of the states also haven't even reviewed the letter yet and are still waiting to get back to the commission. So, and then some of them, again, saying they supported it, but they simply couldn't because of the law. And again, this is an election integrity commission. Okay. And this is from an executive order in May signed by Trump requesting some voter data to check on the integrity of our elections. Meanwhile, the Democrats are crying Russia, Russia, Russia. But Trump starts the voter integrity committee and they have nothing to say about that. And again, they always say, this is from CNN, months after Trump claimed without evidence that millions had voted illegally. I mean, it's like we have so much evidence in voter fraud from so many elections. It's like, why do you even doubt that? And so the vice chairman, who is Chris Kobach, the Secretary of State of Kansas, is requesting only public information. And he said the purpose of the commission is to find facts and put them on the table. It's a bipartisan commission. Every state that responded to the commission's letter said it could not provide social security numbers, for example. Others said they They consider information such as birth dates and party affiliations to be private. So again, this is all about law. Some places you can't get the last 4 digits of the Social Security. Some places you can't get birth dates. You can't get dates. You can't get this. You can't get that. Other states you can. You can actually buy this information from the Secretary of State. It's kind of shocking, but it is true. And then you go on and you listen to some of these responses. For example, Terry McAuliffe, the Virginia governor, says, this entire commission is based on the false notion that there was widespread voter fraud last November. So again, though, this is Terry McAuliffe from the Democrat Party who has been crying that Russia is hacking the election, Russia's meddling in the election, Russia's influencing our elections, and then from the other side of their mouth will tell you that any notion that there's any voter fraud is completely fake news. So again, they're sitting here saying Russia's meddling in our election, the integrity of the election is in question because of Russian hacking, Russian meddling, and then Trump says, well, let's set up a voter integrity committee, let's get down to the brass tacks here. And then Terry McAuliffe of the Democrats says, there's nothing to see here. There's no voter fraud. Absolutely. All that stuff that we've been saying about the Russians, just ignore that. Alex Padilla from California says, I will not provide sensitive voter information to a commission that has already inaccurately passed judgment that millions of Californians voted illegally. California's participation would only serve to legitimize the false and already debunked claims of massive voter fraud made by the president. But again, they complain about Russia, and we don't know that that's true yet. That's why we're doing the investigation. And a lot of these states responding, and they're saying, the ones that are complaining about Trump, they're saying, oh, how dare they request this information? How dare they ask us for this information? No complaints about the spy grid, no complaints about the CIA Vault 7 access, nothing.
We're selling a product, DNA Force, that is the very best nutraceutical that we can produce. Dr. Group, you took years for you to develop DNA Force for us.
It's been something that I've been working on for a long time, Alex, because I think it's very, very important. What the aging process is when the cell replicates, we lose a little bit of our telomeres. Telomeres are the little cups on the end of our chromosomes.
And when it runs out, you start dying.
We chose the PQQ because it has over 175 different clinical trials. It's one of the most effective substances in the world. It works like an antioxidant. It works to repair nerve growth factor.
So this is a formula to deliver the maximum amount. It's in powder form.
We have so many 5-star reviews. I take this. This is the product that I take.
Infowarslife.com, and the profit we make, we fight the globals. We fight the New World Order. Secure your DNA Force today at Infowarslife.com or call toll-free 888-253-3139.